One thing you said on the run today was the art of play as it relates to running. You were running with Brittany yesterday, dancing around in Denver. In lives past, you've raced marathons at absolute edge of human performance or your human's performance.
Really want to I'm really resisting the urge to be like, no, that wasn't me. Like,
but it was.
I know. And I'm working on accepting that. Yes.
So I'm not going to ask you how you got to the play part because you said you don't know. Talk to me about like what that means and how important play is for you right now as Tina of 2023.
I mean, I do know a little bit in that, like, for me, I tried to do like a middle ground running when I was coming back after I had my first daughter. I ran Boston 2019, hated it. Absolutely one of the worst races I've ever had in my life. Like, I just despised it. And I was like, something has to give. So for me, I countered that with like guiding. But running with the visually impaired runners was just a way that I could seek something different and shake myself out of that competitiveness. So that started me on the journey. But now, I mean, the perfect example is the three of us jumped in, what was it called? Turquoise Lake, like on a run. Like that now, when that urge to do something fun, silly comes in, rather than going through your head of like, oh, but then I'll be wet. Oh, but then what if my socks rub in my shoes? Oh, what if da-da-da-da-da?
Then you've got to get darn tough socks because they're wonderful.
Noted. I just jump on it. I act upon it. So same with like when my kids are at the playground, when I look at the monkey bars and I'm like, that looks like fun, I do it. Like in that moment before I'm like, oh, but what if other parents are like, what is that woman doing? I like jump on it. And so it's when that little voice comes through, we all know that voice that says like, oh, that looks fun. Or like, once you start doing it, more of those voices come in and you recognize them and you act upon them. And I've just found that by looking at the world, being curious as a playground, essentially, it just continues to bring me this like childlike kind of like giddiness. And so I want to chase that because it feels good. So I always actually start with the jumping in a body of water in the summer. Like that's such an easy way in. Obviously, it's not everywhere you can do that, but there's a lot of places where there's a body of water you can jump in mid-run. And once you start doing that, it just kind of goes from there.
And the extreme bonus of doing it at 10,000 feet is that you're dry within 2 more miles.
Yeah. Yes. But let's see if Zoe's got anything there as well.
Yeah, it makes me think of this Mary Oliver poem, Wild Geese, where she has a line about letting the soft animal of her body love what it loves. I think it's like about paying attention to like what the soft animal of your body, like what it feels drawn to. Like we wanted, like we physically like felt that like urge to like be in the water and to play and to splash. Like we were running with dogs and the dogs had no issue, just like immediately going into the water. And why would we be any different? What? Because we need to make sure that our shakeout is, yeah. And I think that it's like just about like noticing in your body, like how it responds to elements of play and like what feels like pleasurable physically. Because I think so often in the world of endurance sports, we get caught up like in the grind and like no pain, no gain and like trying to force everything through and like being so serious and like putting on these masks of seriousness so that we can like trick other adults into treating us like adults when we want to play. Like that's why I trail run is like play is a really, really important part of my life as an athlete, as a creative, as a comedian. Like all good things start in play because I think it's like a really radically different posture to sort of inhabit the world with. Because play doesn't have an objective, right? Like so much of our lives, like in training and in work, like, okay, I'm trying to make money or I'm trying to get fit. And I think that play, you're just doing something because it feels good and because it connects you to other people or it connects you to yourself or it connects you to the environment. And it doesn't benefit someone else far away. It doesn't make Mark Zuckerberg any more money, you know? And I think that that's like really beautiful and amazing.
The aspect of play is fascinating, right? Because we grow up uninhibited and at some point we become adults or like we get responsibilities and we lose the art of play. Like I imagine it's enjoyable watching your kids run, not like to run to train, but like their form is probably wonderful. And the ability to see like raw joy and form. And I say form because anyway. And at some point we lose that.
Yeah.
And then at some point we crave it again.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I can't remember who said this. I wish I need to note down who said this quote, but there's this quote that says we spend the first half of our lives figuring out how to grow up and be adults and be serious. And I'm butchering this, and we spend the second half of our lives learning how to be children and to play.
Yeah.
And I just love that so much. Although I hope none of us are in we're entering into the second half of our lives yet. But I really think about that a lot. And it's interesting because there's some things with kids where I feel like you're almost trained to be like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's like the adult in you is like, I don't want to do this thing that you find fun. But you have to, so I have to push myself to let go with it. But I see a lot of it in the curiosity. I actually think most of it for them is the curiosity. And when I start looking at my kids through the lens of they're curious, so when they're doing something that is annoying me, they're literally like, oh, I wonder what that sounds like if I drop it. And that's what they're thinking because they're curious. And for me, I'm like, don't you drop, but then I start to look at it and be like, they're doing that because the sound it makes is fun. Or, I took them to this nature reserve we have in Forest Park in St. Louis. And they went in this muddy water. They were just wading around in their knees. And then they just sat down. And there was that part of me that was like, ah! And then I was like, nope. And I just watched them be curious because they were like, what does this feel like? What is this? What would this feel like to swim in it? And once the chin started getting in, I was getting to the edge of my comfort zone of don't put your mouth in that water, please. But it really has helped me to be able to just look at things and be like, okay, just do what feels good in the moment when that thought comes up. And it really has changed the way that I view the world. And even as simple, Zoe and I, you can see right behind you, Jon, there's these purple flowers, taking a moment to just look at those rather than being like, oh, there's a flower. That is a simple moment where that thought came up of, oh, that's pretty. And actually taking a moment to admire and take it in. I don't know. I just feel like for me, my life has leveled up since I've looked at through a curious lens.